to you live from Petoskey, Michigan. It's Northern Michigan's only live and local afternoon talk show, WMKT's Talk of the North. Something on your mind? Call our studio line at 866-371-1270 or connect on social media at Triple Talk WMKT on Facebook and X. Now, bringing you the latest news from the region, states, and around the country. Here's your host, Nick Rudy.
Good afternoon, Northern Michigan. Welcome to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT, streaming online at WMKT-thetalkstation.com. I'm Nick Rudy, your host. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Thursday. It has been a busy day of news. We have a lot to share with you, but first, a quick look at your expanded local forecast. Tonight, some patchy fog developing after 1. Skies clearing, a low near 55 tomorrow. Areas of fog will linger through the morning, followed by mostly sunny skies, a high near 79. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy, a low of about 56. Saturday, 40% chance of showers, mainly after 2. Partly sunny skies and a high near 78. Showers also likely on Saturday night, a low of about 63. And Sunday, there's a 40% chance of showers before 2 with mostly cloudy skies, a high near 75. We have a lot to get to on the show today. More non-citizens have been charged with voting in Michigan elections. That is a very bad situation. A flurry of EMS changes are on the horizon in Charlevoix County. And John James, the Republican gubernatorial candidate, has picked his running mate. We'll see if it sticks, and we'll be joined by Dennis Lennox coming up in a little bit to get his thoughts. Before we do, it's time for WMKT's Market Watch. The Dow Jones gained 69 points, up to 53,839. The S&P 500 gained 50 points, up to 7,798, and the NASDAQ gained 212 points, up to 26,803. Bitcoin, another down day, falling $77 to $63,327. It has been a couple of days of decline, although it hasn't lost a ton of money, so it's been hanging on. Gold down $65.43 to $4,348.79, while silver fell 90 cents down to $64.39. Over in blue chip world, notable winners today include Intel, Apple, Marathon Petroleum, Netflix, Meta Platforms, PepsiCo, Learcore, and Wolverine Worldwide. Notable losers, Space Exploration Technology, Cisco Systems, and Deere & Co. Biggest gain today, FGS Industries up 147%. Biggest decline, Obsidian Therapeutics down 32%. That has been WMKT's Market Watch. A lot of local news to dive into on the show today, and as such, we're going to head to a quick break, and when we return, we're going to get into all of it after these messages. You're listening to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT.
I was 24 when I had a stroke.
I was 35 when I suffered a heart attack.
I was 46.
I was 62.
It's a fact. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in women.
But we can fight against our number one killer.
Talk to your doctor about your risk factors.
Know your family history.
Learn the warning signs and symptoms.
Together, let's go red for women.
Visit goredforwomen.org to learn more.
As parents, we have a million things running through our minds. Playdates, checkups, groceries, laundry, diapers, work, carpool schedules, picture day, swim team, did we mention diapers, birthday parties, meal prep, lost permission slips, dentist appointments, and the dog that still needs to be walked. So it's easy to make a mistake. Oh, I forgot birthday candles. Sit tight, hon. I'll be right back. We say we'd never put our kids in danger by leaving them in the car alone. Oh, wait. Since when are candles not on the baking aisle? But never happens. And temperatures as low as 60 degrees can be deadly for children left behind. So always bring them with you, and every time you park the car, stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Your neighbors are listening. Northern Michigan tunes into Triple Talk WMKT because they care about their communities, their region, and the businesses that serve them. Put your brand in that conversation. From Talk of the North with me, Nick Rudy, to national names like Glenn Beck and Hugh Hewitt, WMKT delivers the audience your business deserves. Grow local and stand out at home. Call 231-347-8713, Triple Talk WMKT.
Local news, local voices, and the conversations that matter. You're listening to WMKT's Talk of the North with Nick Rudy on 102.3, 103.3 FM, and 1270 AM Triple Talk WMKT. And streaming across the state of Michigan at WMKTTheTalkStation.com.
Welcome back to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT, streaming online at WMKTTheTalkStation.com. A 60-year-old Johannesburg man has died following a motorcycle crash Sunday evening in Charlton Township. Michigan State Police say the man and a 40-year-old Johannesburg man were traveling west on Fittigan Road when the lead motorcyclist slowed down and was struck from behind. The 60-year-old rider, who was not wearing a helmet, was thrown from his motorcycle and later died at a hospital. The other rider was not injured. The crash is still under investigation. Garfield Township Planning Commissioners are considering recommending a moratorium on new data center development. Township staff say current zoning rules, written more than a decade ago, don't address the size and intensity of today's facilities. The proposed moratorium could last up to 12 months with a possible 6-month extension. The township can regulate data centers, including their location, setbacks, and noise, but cannot ban them outright. Any moratorium would require a separate township board vote. McLaren Northern Michigan is partnering with the Grand Traverse Women's Clinic to maintain local OBGYN care following the announced closure of Bayview OBGYN. Inpatient coverage will begin August 16th with outpatient care starting on the 24th. McLaren says the partnership is temporary while it establishes a permanent McLaren Northern OBGYN clinic inside the hospital. The Republican candidate for governor in Michigan appears to have his man, Congressman John James, is selecting State Representative Jay DeBoyer of St. Clair County as his running mate. DeBoyer is in his second term in the State House and has been serving as the chairman of the House Oversight Committee. He's led GOP efforts to investigate Governor Whitmer, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, and Attorney General Dana Nessel. Announcing the choice, James wrote today, quote, "I am choosing Jay DeBoyer as my running mate because he has a business, served in local government, and overseen elections. He knows how to work with both parties in the legislature to get things done. Jay embodies the West Point Code of Honor principles I expect in my administration, restoring integrity, competence, and trust in state government. He will lead the fight against corruption, fraud, waste, and abuse, protecting core services while fixing what's broken. Michigan deserves a government as good as its people, focused on excellent schools, safer streets, and an affordable Michigan. Jay will help us deliver it," end quote. His opponent, Jocelyn Benson, has not named a running mate. Joining us on the WMKT airwaves to discuss is Dennis Lennox. All right, Dennis, your reaction to the news that Republican candidate for governor John James has selected Jay DeBoyer as his running mate?
Well, it's not somebody I would have had on the top of my list. I would have maybe had him on the second tier, but wasn't my decision to make. I think I was pretty adamant last week that it needed to be a woman because the rest of the ticket is all men. And I think you needed to have that gender diversity. I know some conservatives won't like to hear that because they think it sounds too DEI. But at the end of the day, the whole point of a political party is to form a governing coalition and to win elections, and half the voters are women. So I think Jay DeBoyer is an interesting pick. He does bring some of the experience that John James lacks, not just because he served 4 years in the state house and held leadership positions, but he was a county clerk for 12 years before that. He was a township supervisor and a township trustee. So he has about 20 years of state and local government experience, which is 20 years of experience that John James doesn't have.
Yeah, so it's not 100% set in stone, right? Because the party delegates still have to give it the okay, but I'm assuming that's somewhat likely.
Well, yes. I mean, the way it should work and the way it normally works is in both political parties, the gubernatorial nominee says this is our person, and the convention ratifies that. Under the Michigan Republican Party rules, there's no opportunity for some malcontents at the convention on August 22nd in Mount Pleasant to put up an alternative candidate and have it be a head-to-head vote. I think it would have to go 2 or 3 separate rounds of John James's pick being defeated before a name could be put in a nomination. That's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Look, if there's one thing that unites Republicans in Michigan, it's the prospect of Jocelyn Benson being in the governor's mansion.
Yeah. What do you think is James's reasoning for picking DeBoyer? I mean, what characteristics does DeBoyer bring that James is missing to complete the ticket, as candidates for president and governor often do? And the thing that really stuck out to me, Dennis, is the fact that, they're from basically the same 25-mile radius, roughly.
Yeah, I think technically speaking, Jay DeBoyer is not in John James's congressional district. I believe he's in Lisa McClain's district. I mean, point well taken. But look, at the end of the day, the majority of voters in Michigan are in downstate, particularly in that southeastern Michigan area. So it's not a bad idea. That's where the campaign is going to be won or lost. Jay DeBoyer has unquestioned conservative credentials. I believe he's still the chair of the conservative caucus amongst House Republicans. He has chaired the oversight committee, which has just prosecuted literally and figuratively the case against Jocelyn Benson and Dana Nessel and Gretchen Whitmer these past 2 years under the House Republican majority. So he has all the receipts. I suspect you're going to see him being the attack dog on the campaign trail, which is a role that you often see the running mate at the vice presidential or lieutenant governor level play. But at the end of the day, Nick, a running mate, again, whether it's a vice president or a lieutenant governor, seldom adds anything to the ticket, seldom attracts voters. I mean, there's very few people out there who woke up this morning to this news who said, you know what, that just sealed the deal. I'm going to vote for John James because Jay DeBoyer was picked. But what can happen is running mates can damage the ticket because they weren't vetted or they have baggage. And people can say on the margins in a close race, you know what, I'm not voting for that person because of something about the running mate. So I think I think what you get with Jay DeBoyer is a competent hand. He knows how Lansing works. He knows where the bodies are buried and where the receipts are hidden. And he can assist John James, should John James win the election, in getting his agenda through the legislature because having served these past 4 years, he knows all of the legislators. And that's something that John James doesn't have because John James has served in Congress, and Washington is so different than Lansing.
Any idea on who Benson picks?
It's probably going to be a woman. I think there was some early speculation that it would be a man. Former Senator Jim Ananich from the Flint area was sort of up there in the list. There was this possibility that maybe Curtis Hotel, the state Democratic Party chairman, a former state senator in his own right, ran for Congress last cycle, might get in. But in the last, say, 24, 36 hours, the rumor mill is really saying Winnie Brinks, who is the state Senate majority leader, and she's term limited, so she can't run for anything else. I think that's an interesting point. That's also what makes the Jay DeBoyer selection interesting, is he's giving up his House seat. He can't be on the ballot both for re-election to the House and for lieutenant governor to hedge his bets. So he's given up a sure thing. His seat is like a 65, 67% Republican seat. And if John James doesn't win, he's out of a job. So, that's kind of an interesting pick on both sides. You tend to see gubernatorial candidates pick legislators who are either turned out or former, because there's not a lot of people in Lansing who want to give up a sure thing.
Well, and I wonder if that begs the question of, it was DeBoyer James's first pick because maybe, he didn't initially want to go after somebody who is going to have to give up something, because maybe that's not ideal for the party. But that I wonder, do you think that the pick of DeBoyer and kind of not having, as you said, that woman on the ticket to balance things out, do you think that kind of gave Benson a little bit more leeway and making the ticket all women?
Maybe. I'm sure that's what they're going to say, is the Republicans, are a bunch of misogynists for passing over a long list of qualified women. But, the Democrats had an all-female ticket in 22 and in 2018. So it's nothing new on their end.
Sure.
That's just sort of what their party is. I do think it can't hurt to have a balanced ticket. Historically, that was always the role of this convention, as well as the other positions that are formally nominated, Attorney General and Secretary of State, is that coming out of that primary. Depending on who won or lost, you could make adjustments to the ticket and balance it out so that the party was truly unified and had a broad ticket. Of course, the problem is in modern campaigns, you can't wait to nominate an Attorney General or Secretary of State until the end of August, when general election voting is in 6 weeks from today. The first ballots will drop around September 23rd. So that's 6 weeks we will be voting.
Yeah, it's coming up really quick. He is Dennis Lennox. You can find him over on X. It's his name, at Dennis Lennox. Dennis, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks as always, Nick. Always great to be with you and the listeners.
Thanks to Dennis for jumping on the show to share his thoughts with us today. Boyne City is buying a new ambulance after Boyne Valley Township voted to leave the city's EMS system. The city commission voted unanimously to approve spending up to nearly $463,000 on a new ambulance. The purchase will replace one of the two Boyne Valley-owned ambulances that Boyne City will lose when the township leaves the system on September 10th. That will leave the city with two older ambulances, both with more than 150,000 miles. City officials say the new ambulance will restore the fleet to 3 and provide a backup if one is out of service. The purchase will be funded with about $205,000 from the Ambulance Reserve Fund and $200,000 already budgeted for capital expenses. Boyne Valley is the second township to leave Boyne City EMS in recent months, following Bay Township's decision in June. The departures are adding to the ongoing disputes over EMS funding, billing errors, and how operating costs should be shared among the remaining townships. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel says 6 people have been charged in connection with alleged illegal voter registration or voting in the 2024 election. 5 of those charged are non-U.S. citizens, while the 6th is an American citizen accused of registering her non-citizen husband to vote. The cases involve alleged voting or registration in communities including Oak Park, Three Rivers, Wolverine Lake, and Roseville. Nessel says her office is continuing to investigate 22 cases involving suspected non-citizen voting. The future of Boyne City's historic Boyne Theater remains uncertain despite broad support for keeping it open. A newly formed nonprofit wants to restore the building as a theater and event venue, but its initial proposal didn't include a required purchase price. Main Street declined to act on a handwritten $350,000 offer made during last week's meeting. The nonprofit later submitted a formal offer of $100,000. Main Street plans to meet on August 17th to review its options with legal counsel. The Hammond Road and 3 Mile Road intersection is expected to reopen to traffic next Wednesday following a utility conflict that delayed the next phase of the reconstruction project. Once open, 3 Mile will be fully open north of the intersection, and Hammond Road will be open east of the intersection. Hammond Road will then close between Town Line and west of 3 Mile Road for reconstruction. That closure is expected to last until mid to late September. Meanwhile, 3 Mile Road between Napoleon Way and south of Hammond Road will stay closed for the Safe Routes to School project, with that section expected to reopen on August 24th. Residents and businesses will continue to have access, while other drivers should follow posted detours and expect delays. Boyne City Commissioners have unanimously rejected a proposed $22,470 increase to the Call Street reconstruction project. The money would have paid for a geotextile system to stabilize a steep hillside and keep construction within the existing right-of-way. Commissioners said the issue should have been addressed in the original design and questioned the city's engineering consultant, C2AE. Nearby residents have criticized the city for not communicating with property owners before construction began. The Call Street project is a joint effort with Evangeline Township, which shares in the engineering and construction costs. DTE Gas Company filed an application with the Michigan Public Service Commission earlier this month seeking approval for a nearly 14-mile, $88 million natural gas pipeline near Petoskey. The initial filing contains multiple errors and incomplete sections, including conflicting figures on cost, pipeline diameter, timelines, and an environmental impact report filled with placeholder text and empty tables. DTE said it was a simple mistake, partly because the project shifted from a distribution to a transmission line. It began correcting the documents immediately. The utility plans to update the filing soon and has held public forums on the project. The pipeline would run from a gate station west of Petoskey south and east through Emmett County, connecting to the TC Energy system. DTE says it is needed for redundant supply to Petoskey, Charlevoix, and Harbor Springs to prevent potential outages affecting up to 19,000 customers. Construction is targeted for spring, with costs to be recovered through rates subject to approval. It would disturb about 3 acres of wetlands and involve tree clearing. Critics, including environmental advocates and some of the more than 80 affected landowners, argue the error-filled application shows a lack of diligence. Concerns include impacts on conservation areas and possible use of eminent domain. The Michigan Public Service Commission said it thoroughly reviews applications and will address any deficiencies. Charlevoix County Commissioners have reversed their decision to appoint Sheriff Chuck Vondra as interim county administrator. Instead, the county will declare the administrator position vacant and contract with Vondra to perform administrator duties as directed by commissioners. He'll receive an additional 15% in compensation. Commissioners also approved about $653,000 for repairs to the Little Traverse Wheelway Boardwalk, work potentially beginning this fall. Boyne Valley Township is leaving Boyne City EMS and joining the Jordan Valley EMS Authority for ambulance service. The Township Board voted unanimously on Monday, saying residents should see no change in service with a local paramedic and township-owned ambulance remaining in place. The decision follows a financial dispute in which Boyne City says the township owes nearly $784,000 in unpaid and retroactive EMS costs. Township officials cited concerns over communication and transparency as reasons for the change. Evangeline Township voters will decide on a new fire and ambulance millage this November. The Township Board approved putting in a $1 mil levy on the ballot on their August 6th meeting, citing rising EMS costs. If you live in Evangeline Township, keep an eye out for a letter in mid-October explaining why officials say the millage is needed. Melrose Township has issued 38 short-term rental licenses under its new ordinance, with 8 more applications awaiting review. The township's planning consultant says some areas, including Village of Walloon and Hillview Drive, have a high concentration of rentals and is recommending that the ordinance be reviewed. Michigan is once again providing money for teacher bonuses as the state continues to rank near the bottom nationally for starting teacher pay. The new $22.9 billion education budget includes a $150 million bonus pool for teachers and other school employees. Based on enrollment, the Michigan Education Association estimates that works out to about $110 per student, with individual bonuses likely ranging from about $500 to $1,000. Michigan's average teacher salary is about $71,000, ranking 22nd nationally, but starting pay averages just over $43,000, ranking 45th. Some say the bonuses provide helpful short-term relief, but education researchers and school leaders say that won't help solve long-term recruitment and retention problems. Slight comment on this story for you. I did a bit of my own research, if you will. I went around and asked a considerable number of people what they thought the average pay for teachers and K through 12 teachers in Michigan public schools, teachers only, not administrators, not, the janitorial staff, but actual teachers, K through 12, what that pay was, because we hear constantly that we need to pay teachers more. And so we've all heard that being said. And so I think our knee-jerk reaction would be that they get paid pretty poorly. And it is true that they do rank 22nd nationally. I wouldn't say that's bottom of the barrel. They're using that kind of terminology in reference to starting pay being 45th, which of course is a bottom of the barrel. But $71,000, nothing to sneeze at. That is certain. And because that is well above the statewide average income. And so I asked around, and, I got a wide variety of responses. And there was a few people that said even up to $70,000, but the vast majority were in about the $50,000 range. $45,000 to $55,000 range was the most common. I got as low as $35,000 as being the average pay for teachers. And so, when the maybe it's the mode that I received was probably about $50,000 to $55,000 for average teacher pay in the responses that I got from friends and family that I asked. That's $20,000 off, roughly. That is a considerable amount of money. Some people don't even make $20,000 a year. Most do, but not everybody. And so $71,000, that's it. That's a good chunk of change on average for a position. And look, I'm not saying that they don't deserve it. They have to put up with your kids all the time, right? Your kids and grandkids, they have to put up with them a good chunk of the year. But to pretend like they're underpaid, that might be a bit of a stretch. I think people are going to be shocked by the average being $71,000. Independent pharmacies in Michigan say the growing use of mail-order prescriptions is putting pressure on local drug stores. Pharmacy benefit managers, including Express Scripts, CVS Caremark, and Optum RX often make mail delivery the preferred option for patients because of lower copays. The Michigan Pharmacists Association says 272 pharmacies closed statewide last year alone, including 91 independents. Pharmacists warn closures can limit access to services like vaccinations, urgent antibiotic refills, and basic clinical care. The pharmacy benefit managers dispute that they're driving up closures, saying their networks include independent pharmacies and that mail delivery helps lower costs and improve access. Governor Whitmer is asking Michigan regulators to reject Consumer Energy's proposed sale of 13 hydroelectric dams unless stronger protections are added for dam safety and taxpayers. Whitmer says the current deal doesn't ensure the dams will be properly maintained or safely decommissioned and doesn't adequately protect against future repair, environmental, or accidental costs. The governor also says a proposed $270 million safety fund is not enough. An administrative law judge recommended rejecting the sale in June. Consumers Energy wants to sell the dams to Confluence Hydro for $1, with the Michigan Public Service Commission expected to make the final decision. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel is warning about imposter scams after reports of scammers impersonating banks or credit unions to steal financial and personal information. The fraudsters have reportedly used spoofing technology to make the caller ID appear to be from a legitimate source. She says they may falsely claim there's an issue with someone's account, like unauthorized transactions or overdrafts, and offer to resolve it. They'll ask for the account or other personal information, and Nessel says don't share it with an unsolicited caller. And finally, Toyota is recalling about 655,000 Camry vehicles worldwide because of a display problem that could disable turn signals, hazard lights, and some warning sounds. In the U.S., the recall covers more than 508,000 2025 and 2026 Camry hybrids with the smaller 7-inch driver display. The larger display XLE and XSE models are not affected. Toyota says the problem can cause the display to remain blank when the vehicle starts. Dealers will fix the issue with a free software update. Owners are expected to receive notices beginning on September 21st. You are now caught up on local and statewide news. We're going to head to a quick break. A recent bill passed and was signed into law, making silver alerts the law of the land here in Michigan. We're going to learn more about it and how it came to be by speaking with the executive director of the Friendship Centers of Emmett County. That conversation is headed your way after these messages. You're listening to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM Triple Talk WMKT.
Fox News, I'm Carmen Roberts. Luigi Mangione may change his plea tomorrow on federal charges in the killing of United Healthcare CEO.
Mangione's lawyers and federal prosecutors asked for a last-minute conference tomorrow at court as the New York Post and the New York Times report Mangione is expected to plead guilty under a federal deal.
Fox's Brian Yennis. Iran insists the Strait of Hormuz is under its control after President Trump said this.
I think we will keep it. Our naval blockade is being called by everyone a wall of steel, and there is nothing Iran can do about it. Iran shoots back. It can do plenty about it.
Fox's Jonathan Hunt in Tel Aviv. And the Kennedy Center Board votes again to add President Trump's name to the building's facade. America's listening to Fox News.
Jesus was the greatest hero who ever lived, fighting all the evil powers of his world with nothing more than a Bible and prayer. He gave us the secret of the power he wanted to share with us when he preached the greatest sermon in the history of the world, the Sermon on the Mount. Join us at First Baptist Church of Petoskey as we examine the revolutionary power and freedom that he offered us in this sermon. And then as we see together how to enlist this power in our marriages. This is the same power it will take to rebuild America into a free, Christian-influenced nation under God. Join us every Sunday morning right here at 10 on WMKT, 1270 AM and 102.3, 103.3 FM.
On September 11th, 2001, 2,977 people were killed.
I wasn't there.
But I lived the legacy of people who were.
I wasn't there, but I'll never forget.
25 years later, the 9/11 Memorial and Museum preserves the stories of that day and the service it inspired so that we always remember. Join us at neverforget.org.
Most people think child abuse is a bad parent problem.
Actually, the root causes may be different than you think.
Let us explain. Affordable housing for everyone?
That prevents child abuse. And access to health care in every community.
Prevents child abuse too. High-quality, affordable childcare.
Paid family leave.
School breakfast and lunch programs.
All of this prevents child abuse.
It's all about keeping families out of crisis in the first place.
Research shows that investing in prevention helps children stay safe, strengthens families, and builds healthier communities and a stronger economy. Prevent Child Abuse America promotes policies, programs, and resources that help families thrive before a crisis occurs.
Because when we keep families out of crisis,
we prevent child abuse
from ever happening.
Go to kidssay.org to learn more. Again, that's kidssay.org. And
let's solve child abuse before it ever happens.
Triple Talk WMKT weather forecast.
A little cloudy and overcast skies in areas, but still peaking sunshine throughout the afternoon as temperatures are near 80 as our high today. Overnight, it'll be 60 with some cloud coverage, but it warms right back up tomorrow near 80 for Friday with mostly sunny conditions. But by this weekend, we have some rain on Saturday and Sunday, but temperatures will be in the upper 70s near 80 on both days. That is your latest weather forecast on 102.3, 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT.
If it happens in northern Michigan, you'll hear about it right here on WMKT's Talk of the North with Nick Rudy on northern Michigan's News Talk leader 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT, and streaming online at WMKTTheTalkStation.com.
Welcome back to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT. Streaming online at WMKTTheTalkStation.com. A little while ago here in the state of Michigan, legislation enacting silver alerts was passed by the legislature and signed into law by Governor Whitmer in late July, so it's still pretty new. And we're now joined by Denise Smith, the executive director of the Friendship Centers of Emmett County, to discuss the story behind silver alerts. Well, Deneen, let's take care of the definition. What is a silver alert?
Yeah, so a silver alert is a coordinated, standardized, statewide alert system. It's for missing seniors and vulnerable adults. It's very similar to an Amber Alert, which is for children. So a silver alert really just targets missing seniors and vulnerable adults.
And how does one get sent out? What criteria needs to be reached? I'm assuming there's an age, probably, as you said, seniors, maybe 65. And is it as simple as a family reaching out to law enforcement when an older family member goes missing?
That's exactly right. So currently, the legislation was signed into law at the end of July by Governor Whitmer. And now what will happen is that law will then go to the Michigan State Police for them to develop policies and procedures around how that's going to look. My understanding is that all that the general public will have to do is call 911, report their loved one is missing, give them some details, and then when it meets the list of criteria that Michigan State Police develop, then local law enforcement will then send that information to Michigan State Police, and from there it will go out to our phones, roadside signs like on I-75, that sort of thing, radio, TV, so that the general public is aware of the alert.
And when did the Friendship Centers first get involved trying to help this silver alert legislation get passed? And maybe was there anything that prompted that?
Yeah, so in September of 2023, I learned on just a Facebook post that a local senior who was 70 years old had dementia. His name was David Moffitt, was missing. I was shocked that there was no coordinated system. So I actually was one of the first people to report to their local township hall. They were asking for people to come in and do some searches. So I went there. When I walked in, there were probably a dozen people gathered around maps on a table, outlining places that, you would agree to go search for David. And so that's how I got started. Like I said, I just couldn't believe that there wasn't a coordinated way to reach people, to reach the public, to let folks know that he was missing. So David was missing. The search continued for several days. Fortunately, I was able to participate in that. We searched really difficult terrain. We did grid searches. Law enforcement got involved. The resources that were attached to that search were just unbelievable. There were first responders, hundreds of community members. And interestingly enough, 5 days later, his dog came home. So when he left home, he was with his dog. His dog came home 5 days later, and David never did. And so that experience stayed with me. And initially I thought, well, the best way to get a law passed is to start a petition, right? So I went to change.org, I did a petition, sent it to our legislators in Lansing, and nothing happened. So from there, I decided, well, there's got to be more that we can do. So I made some trips to Lansing. I was able to schedule meetings with folks from the House of Representatives and senators and meet with them and just share the information with them that we really needed this in Michigan. 37 other states have some form of a silver alert system, and Michigan did not. So they were really interested to learn that we didn't have a coordinated system. So that's kind of how things got rolling.
I'm glad you mentioned that many other states have some form of silver alert, because that was going to be the basis of my next question. Is there any data that you're familiar with on how much silver alerts in other states may have helped in the success rate of finding missing older adults?
Yeah, absolutely. So the success rate is high. So when I started to do research, as I was talking with legislators to be able to give them data, I learned that, in Florida, they have a robust silver alert system that, I can't remember the data point right offhand, but it was immensely successful. And so we know that 6 out of 10 people living with Alzheimer's or dementia will wander at some point. And we also know that the first 24 hours of those folks going missing is critical. So getting that information out promptly is what saves lives. Another place that it's highly successful that just passed not too awfully long ago was in Utah. So yeah, there is data from around the nation that supports the effectiveness of silver alerts.
And you're going to be holding a Silver Alert celebration soon. What can you tell us about that?
We are. We're very excited about it. So this legislation got signed into law in July of this year. It was done at a time when there wasn't any ceremony or some laws, when they get signed in, there's a big ceremony. There's a signing opportunity for folks to meet and greet and discuss it. And that didn't happen for Silver Alert. So we decided that we wanted to celebrate the local folks who advocated, the legislators who introduced the bill and supported the bill. And so on October 9th, we are going to have a Silver Alert celebration here at Friendship Centers of Emmett County in Petoskey. And we are just going to invite all the folks that were crucial in getting this legislation passed. We're also going to invite David Moffitt's family. So David, to this day, still hasn't been found. But, I've been in touch with them, with his wife and his sister, and we're hoping that they will join us. We can't bring David back home, but maybe we can save, somebody else from having to endure this heartache in the long run.
We are speaking with Deneen Smith, Executive Director of the Friendship Centers of Emmett County. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thanks to Deneen for joining us today. We're going to head to another quick break, and when we return, we'll talk a little bit about the Tigers. There's some good news. It's been a crazy season. We'll break it down after these messages. You're listening to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM Triple Talk WMKT.
One in 5 kids in America faces hunger. And when you feed a kid who faces hunger, you're doing more than filling an empty stomach. You're feeding the chance to learn, grow, shine. You're feeding the American dream. For the first time, the leading anti-hunger organizations are coming together, not to fight hunger, but to end it. NourishTheAmericanDream.org, powered by Nourishing Neighbors. Join us today.
doubt by it. So, like, we want young people. We want fresh voices. We need this generational change. And that's why anybody who comes along, Graham Plattner, Abdul Sayed.
The headlines, the issues, and the news that affects Northern Michigan. WMKT's Talk of the North with Nick Rudy on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM Triple Talk WMKT. Call in and be part of the conversation at 866-371-1270.
Welcome back to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT. We are streaming online at WMKT-TheTalkStation.com. Well, it has been a tale of two ball games, that is for sure, for the Detroit Tigers. Yesterday, last night, a really brutal loss. A winnable game by all metrics, and just couldn't get it done. A 6-4 loss to Cleveland, and it was kind of one of those things where, look, the bullpen is what the bullpen is. We knew what the issues were going to be down the stretch this season, and unfortunately, we can't overcome the bullpen in some of these games. So, like, what happened yesterday? Framber Valdez has an absolute stinker of a ball game. Gives up 4 runs. The bullpen actually, gives up three, I believe it was 2 or 3 runs immediately. And I mean, it's over. The offense scores 4. They did enough to win against Cleveland. Framber Valdez, this has to be stated. He is supposed to be the ace based on what we pay him and precedent. He's supposed to be the ace of this rotation after Skubal got traded, and especially after Flaherty went on the IL. I think even if Flaherty was still pitching for us, the Framber would still be supposed to be, at least, the Tigers' best pitcher. Speaking of which, who knows when Flaherty's going to be back? Hinch said earlier this week he'll be on the injured list beyond the 15-day minimum. Valdez puts up a stinker yesterday. No control of any of his pitches aside from his curveball. And, the bullpen lets the lead get blown wide open. If our starting pitching does not set the tone for the game, it's going to be a really long day. And that's what happened. Contrast this with today's game. It's actually rather a historic game, by the way. We'll talk about that. Really fun game. 3-0 win for the Tigers. Not a ton of offense. Eduardo Valencia hit a solo shot. Spencer Torkelson has had a great 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. He was 2 for 3 with a walk and a clutch RBI. Speaking of clutch, I've talked about this recently. Spencer Torkelson has been hitting quite well with runners in scoring position for at least a month now, kind of since when the team turned around in June. He's had to step up in the absence of Green. He's had to step up just in general. He's been delivering. It's been quality baseball from Spencer Torkelson on the offensive side of the ball. He had a really important play over at first. Keeping his toe on the bag and a bad throw from Dylan Dingler on a weak little ground ball. He's been playing very well. He has a long way to go because remember, I'm not gonna sit here and sing his praises. He was a 1-1. He was drafted first overall in the first round. He was supposed to be the bedrock of the offense as the first baseman. Didn't pan out that way. He was supposed to be a Freddie Freeman style player with the hype out of college and the place that we drafted him. Didn't work out that way. He's been sent down to AAA before. He's even struggled to stay on a major league roster, let's face it. But if he keeps playing the way that he has, he could be a core piece to a really quality team. Unfortunately, he kind of has these little insanity runs and then he goes back to stinking for 2 months. I hope that is not the case. I never root against any of these players. I don't dislike any of them. I wish they were all Hall of Fame caliber players. The reality is they're not. And so when you have expectations, I'm going to hold you to a higher standard. That's why I don't rip on Zach McKinstry and Ben Malgeri and, name another bench player for the Tigers. That's why I'm not spending a lot of time talking about them when they don't deliver in big moments. But I'm going to spend an awful lot of time on Spencer Torkelson and Colt Keith for what we're paying him and Riley Green, because they're supposed to be the cornerstones of this team, especially in terms of the offense. So that was a nice thing to see from Spencer Torkelson. It has been a nice thing to see for the past couple of weeks. Super interesting game. So, Kader Montero, a very, very good outing. 3 hits, only 1 walk, no earned runs. This is the first time because the bullpen came in. Tyler Holton had another phenomenal outing. Kenley Jansen had probably his best outing in weeks. This is the first time since 2014, so about 12 years, that a Major League Baseball team has pitched a shutout without striking anybody out. No strikeouts for Montero, for Holton, or Jansen. They allowed 4 hits and 1 walk. I will say, this is one of those things where you kind of have to separate yourself from your Homer fandom. I don't know. There's probably a lot of different levels to this, right? There is the Tigers pitchers pitched well. Give them their due. I think you also should point out that Cleveland is in a free fall right now. Their offense is putrid. So that definitely played a role. And some of the balls they did hit hard were hit directly to our outfielders. So all of those things happened. And frankly, because, Major League Baseball, all those things have to happen. You have to pitch a good game. You have to have against a bad offense. And you also have to get a little bit lucky, too. And so that is ultimately what happens. So you can tip the cap at your own players. You can realize that Cleveland is just scuffling right now. There's a lot of things that are in play there. Super excited about one announcement. Brant Herter, who was probably our best bullpen pitcher consistently throughout the season. Tyler Holton has kind of turned into the best pitcher right now in the bullpen. But Brant Herter, another lefty, he is in AAA. And he's going to be on assignment starting on Saturday. That's great news. That would be great for the playoff push and for the postseason. Obviously, never the same when you come back from injury. It's never a guarantee, but hopefully he can be, 85% of what he was because he was lights out. And again, he's just kind of one of those random pitchers that we have. Another couple of final notes. White Sox lost today. The Reds almost choked a 4-run lead late, but held on to win 9-8 against the White Sox. So that puts us 2.5 games back out of first in the division. And excitingly, we have 3 games against them. So if we sweep them, we're in first place. Is it going to happen? Probably not, but you never know. Tigers now tied for the final wild card spot in the American League. Now, Rangers still play tonight against the Angels. Angels have won 2 out of 3. It's a 4-game series, so there's a possibility that, of course, we're still a half a game back, but we're only 1 game under 500. My eyebrows fully raised when we're back to 500, and they play the White Sox. This is such an important week. You got to take 2 out of 3 against the White Sox at the very least. Take your opportunities. We kind of basically control our own destiny for the rest of the season. That is all the time that we have for today's show. Thank you, as always, for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with more of the news you need to know. You're listening to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM and 1270 AM Charlevoix. WMKT. Have a great night.